Tonight at the University of Utah, Anita Hill spoke to a standing room only audience. Back in 1991, Hill accused Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment as he sought a spot on the Supreme Court. Tonight's speech comes on the eve of a similar hearing in D.C. tomorrow. News 4 Utah's Nick McGurk was at tonight's discussion and has the story.
Tomorrow in Washington, D.C., a woman who is accused the current nominee for the Supreme Court of sexual harassment, well, she's going to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. That reality was on the minds of hundreds of people here tonight, as hundreds of people couldn't even get in because of such high demand. Hundreds of people forming a line to hear Anita Hill reflect on history.
On the eve of tomorrow, these conversations need to keep happening.
Tomorrow, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who is accusing a Supreme Court nominee of sexual harassment, will face the Senate Judiciary Committee.
She spoke very eloquently and movingly.
In 1991, Anita Hill facing that same committee, speaking out against Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas, whom she had accused of workplace sexual harassment. Many here were alive for Hill's testimony back in 1991.
Now they're just repeating the same scenario, especially Orrin Hatch and Chuck Grassley, who were both on the Judiciary Committee at that time. They are simply repeating exactly the same mistakes they did back then. They didn't learn a thing.
It's disgraceful.
It's disgraceful.
Some in line tonight hadn't even been born in 1991 and say what they hear tomorrow will be crucial.
Whatever happens tomorrow, the decisions made tomorrow, that affects whether or not the 16-year-old girl in your neighborhood decides to say something, or boy. It decides like whether or not your family member or relatives is going to come out about something that happened 23 years ago. So it makes all the difference whether or not we decide to take what happens seriously.
Anita Hill saying tomorrow's hearing can't be fair because there isn't a thorough investigation into claims by Ford. Hill says the country needs witness testimony and experts to weigh in, not just senators who she says are motivated by politics. We caught up with Hill as she was leaving tonight to ask her about tomorrow.
I don't know what to expect. I don't even know if there's going to be testimony tomorrow. But, I know that there's going to be a lot of people interested, and there will be a reaction, whatever happens.
And by the way, we were not allowed to record her actual address tonight. We were able to catch her just as she was leaving, as you saw there at the end. And we also know this speech was planned months in advance. We're told just coincidental that this speech comes on the eve of that big testimony tomorrow in Washington, D.C. For now, on the University of Utah campus, I'm Nick McGurk, News 4 Utah.